Jack Bitten stood in a Libyan prison in 1950, holding 4 different passports, each with a different name. To the British officers who arrested him, he was just another criminal, a smuggler, perhaps, or a petty thief. But to Egyptian intelligence, this man was something far more valuable, the perfect spy. His real name was Rafat El-Gamal, and his story would become one of the most astonishing espionage tales in Middle Eastern history. Recruited by Egypt's Secret Service, Gamal was given a new identity, Jack Bitten, a Jewish businessman. His mission? Infiltrate Israel, the newly formed state that had just defeated Egypt in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The stakes were unimaginable. If caught, he would be executed as a traitor. But Gamal didn't just succeed, he thrived. Within years, he had embedded himself in Tel Aviv's high society. He opened a travel agency, a perfect cover for moving in and out of the country unnoticed. But his real success came from who he knew. According to Egyptian sources, Gamal befriended top Israeli officials, including Prime Ministers David Ben-Gurion and Golda Meir. He attended their private dinners, listened to their confidential conversations, and, most crucially, sent every detail back to Cairo via coded radio transmissions. For 20 years, Gamal lived this double life. He was a devoted husband to his German wife, Waltraud, who had no idea her husband was a spy. He was a loving father to his son, Daniel, who grew up believing he was Jewish. And all the while, he was Egypt's most valuable asset, a ghost in the shadows, feeding secrets to a nation desperate for revenge. But how much of his intelligence actually helped Egypt? And why, after his death in 1985, did his story explode into a cultural phenomenon? The answers lie in a war, a TV series, and a propaganda battle that still rages today. By the 1960s, Rafat El-Gamal was no longer just a spy, he was a legend within Egyptian intelligence. His reports allegedly warned Cairo about Israel's plans to invade Sinai in 1956. Later, he supposedly tipped them off before the 1967 Six-Day War. Yet, in both cases, Egypt's leaders ignored his warnings, with disastrous results. Then came 1973. The Yom Kippur War. This time, Egypt was ready. According to declassified documents and claims by Egyptian novelist Saleh Mersi, Gamal had delivered detailed maps of Israel's Bar Lev line, a chain of fortifications along the Suez Canal. With this intelligence, Egyptian forces launched a surprise attack, crossing the canal and shocking the world. For the first time in decades, Egypt had the upper hand. But here's where the story gets murky. Israel denies Gamal played any role in their defeat. He was a nobody, insists one Mossad source. A small-time informant at best. Yet, if that's true, why did Egypt turn his life into a national legend? The answer lies in 1987, when Mersi published El Hagan, a novel based on Gamal's life. The book became an instant bestseller, and soon after, a government-backed TV series aired across the Arab world. Overnight, Gamal was reborn, not as a man, but as a symbol. A hero. Proof that Egypt could outsmart Israel. But the series wasn't just about espionage. It was also deeply political. Scenes showed Jewish characters as greedy, hook-nosed moneylenders, a portrayal that sparked accusations of anti-Semitism. Was this entertainment, or deliberate propaganda? And why, decades after the 1979 peace treaty, did Egypt still need a spy story to fuel national pride? When El Hagan hit Arab airwaves in the late 1980s, it wasn't just a show, it was a cultural earthquake. Over 100 million people tuned in, from Morocco to Iraq. For many, it was their first glimpse into Israel's inner workings. For others, it was a long-awaited revenge fantasy. But the series also exposed Egypt's complicated relationship with its own Jewish past. Once home to a thriving Jewish community of 80,000, Egypt now had fewer than 200 elderly Jews remaining. The show's portrayal of them, as sinister figures whispering in dark cafes, was a stark reminder of how much had been lost. Israel reacted with fury. Officials dismissed Gamal as a fictional character, a figment of Arab imagination. If he was so important, one diplomat sneered, why didn't Egypt win more wars? But beneath the mockery was real tension. The series had struck a nerve. Because whether or not Gamal was a true master spy, his story proved one thing: in the Middle East, history is never just history. It's a weapon. Meanwhile, Gamal's family was caught in the crossfire. His son, Daniel, raised as a Jew, suddenly learned his father was an Egyptian hero. He applied for Egyptian citizenship, but was denied. His German mother, Waltraud, spent years in disbelief. How could I not have known? She reportedly asked. The truth was, Gamal's greatest trick wasn't fooling Israel. It was fooling everyone, even those closest to him. Today, Rafat El-Gamal's story is more alive than ever. Egypt is producing a sequel to El Hagan, set to air next year. Archivists are digging through old intelligence files. And historians are still debating, was he truly the spy who changed the course of war? Or just a man whose myth outgrew his reality? One thing is certain, Gamal's tale taps into something deeper than espionage. It's about identity, how one man lived a dozen lives, and how a nation clings to his memory for pride. It's about betrayal, how secrets can destroy families as surely as they win wars. And most of all, it's about the enduring rivalry between two countries that, even in peace, remain locked in a battle of narratives. As the cameras roll on the new series, and as Egypt and Israel continue their war of words, one question lingers: who was Rafat El-Gamal really? A hero? A fraud? Or something in between? The answer, like the man himself, may forever remain just out of reach.